Hello, guys. You're listening to Beauty Bites with Dr. K, Secrets of a Plastic Surgeon. And today on the podcast, I have the gorgeous and glamorous Ingrid Kenny, all the way from Monaco. Welcome, Ingrid.
Hi, thank you for having me again.
It's so fun to have you on the podcast again. And for those of you who don't know this boss girl woman, you need to look at her Instagram. I met her almost a year ago in Monaco. And it was so fun. We chatted all about Inulin. And today I thought we'd talk more about Inulin because every time I put it in my coffee on my Instagram, I get a gazillion questions. So you're a big fan of Inulin, which is kind of an insoluble fiber. Tell me a little bit about it and how it's changed your life.
Inulin has changed my life as a hormonal woman. I discovered Inulin on a quest to stop myself from bloating from the age, so I have 3 children, you know, that I had pretty young, but from the age of maybe 30 to now 42, in the course of those 10 years, my body's changed a little bit in the sense that I'm a pretty skinny girl and I am, you know, very athletic, but there was a weird thing happening to my body every day from maybe 2 p.m., 3 p.m. on. I would start feeling bloated and looking maybe 3 to 4 months pregnant. And on a quest to understanding what was happening, I went obviously to doctors and, you know, I was looking at my digestive system, looking at my hormones, and really there's no answers out there for me. Other than maybe fiber. So on this quest to finding something, I came across Inulin here in France, and I started experimenting with a few different kinds of Inulins. Inulin is an oligosaccharide that is a naturally occurring fiber, prebiotic fiber in fruits and vegetables and plants. So there's Inulin in, you know, garlic, in onion, in beetroot, in berries. And I started taking it, and magically, after experiencing a month of gas and, you know, flatulence and bloating, all of a sudden my tummy started whooshing into a flat tummy from morning to night. And that was a huge revelation. Headaches that I used to get before my period never came back. Under eye circles disappeared, and it could only be that because I'm not very big on supplementing, so I don't take anything else other than the food that I eat. Mm-hmm. So that's been my revelation with Inulin.
Well, talk about the process of when you start Inulin, because it's a little bit of a process, that first month or so of your GI tract getting used to all this new fiber. How does that work?
I think we had explained it on our first podcast. You'd explained it very well because you're a doctor. So obviously you use all the right medical terms, but explaining it simply, Inulin is a prebiotic, and it is something that our good gut bacteria, those little bugs that we have in our digestive system, which we need to balance our gut, that's their favorite food. They love feeding on Inulin. So anytime you eat a fruit, a vegetable, any kind of plant that contains Inulin, your good gut bacteria multiplies and repopulates. This is what you need for your gut to be healthy and to balance out and to avoid bloat and constipation and other types of, you know, GI issues, even skin conditions that can come from a disrupted gut, like eczema or, you know, any other type of things that affect your skin. But what happens is when you start taking Inulin, your good gut bacteria starts rebalancing, and very often we have caused a lot of damage to our gut. Taking antibiotics as a child, you know, not eating the right amount of fatty acids, eating processed food, or eating food that we thought is healthy, but turns out there's, you know, a lot of estrogen mimickers in them, things that will affect your gut and you don't even know. And over time, your gut gets extremely tired and not populated enough. So when you are repopulating your gut and balancing it out, you start feeling a little bit of discomfort, but usually no pain. And that translates into farting a lot. So very, very uncomfortable flatulence. And what I say to people is try to give it to your husband so you guys can both fart at the same time. That's like the big joke. And you start bloating like crazy. And it's kind of like, try to think of it as, you know, your gut is populating and it's needing to get rid of the air that's taking up space in your gut because it needs to populate with good gut bacteria and repopulate. So if you want this balancing to happen and you want to restore your gut, you're going to have to put up with this sort of I want to say detox that your body goes through, and it translates into, you know, bloat, and your stomach feels a little bit hard, and you have gas. And that's for most people about two weeks to 4 weeks. It usually doesn't go longer than a month. That's why I usually recommend you start gradually. And I know you started gradually. I remember when you asked me at the very beginning.
Yeah, I was lecturing at the AMWC, the International World Congress of Cosmetics. So I was like, should I put this in my coffee? Because I'm about to go on stage, but it was fine. But yeah, I think adding a little bit is just perfect because you definitely feel a little gassy and bloaty. And like sometimes you feel like, oh my God, I got to run to the bathroom because I don't want to do anything in public. But it's so fully worth it that after that acclimation period, I experienced the same thing and I think it's because the fibers are binding all those fats in our diet and those get excreted. And I think that your colon just gets really regular so that you do have that flat tummy. I think the average American walks around with like 5 pounds of poop in their colon that they just don't process. It just sits there like sludge. I really think that.
That's absolutely true, but it is worth noting that most Americans think of a fiber as a laxative, and you don't want that. Inulin is not a laxative. You are not going to need to run to the bathroom to poop. A lot of people are concerned about that. That's not what happens. Very often you want to run to the bathroom so you can, you know, pass some gas without getting embarrassed. Sorry, I know it's a lot of too much information at that point, but that's what happens. It's not just the colon and it's not just the bowel movement. There's a great process that also happens through your liver. Your liver, you know, exerts the estrogen, the dominance of estrogen in your body, and inulin or any type of fiber that is prebiotic and, you know, indigestible is going to do that. So there's also that whole process of detoxing your liver, detoxing through your liver and exerting, you know, excess estrogen and excess oxidants, I want to say.
That's true. So it's a bit of a process, but I think it's totally worth it. And then the benefits of inulin, so it makes you feel more satiated. You don't feel hungry as much. It typically sticks around in your system for a while.
Yeah.
And then
exactly.
One quick thing before we go on, your microphone's going in and out a little bit. Are you using your computer microphone? It may be when you lean forward.
I'm using my podcast microphone. If you want, I can unplug it.
No, I just hear a little reverb on her microphone, and then I need to turn off the little dings for when I get an email alert. It goes ding, ding. If there's a way, 1 second. Get right back to that. So that's the podcast microphone. Is it a clip-on or is it on the desk?
No, it's on the desk, but I'm not close to it. Like a.
Do you hear that sound going in and out?
Yes, I do.
So how do we fix that?
I'm gonna ask Josh. I'm not sure. I think it might be on her end. Just one.
Sound default.
I can unplug it and use the computer microphone if you prefer.
Okay. I think it might be just staying a uniform distance from the microphone. So a little bit when you lean in and out, it reverberates slightly, but we'll keep trying. I'll point it out when I hear it again, but do you hear mine clearly?
I hear you fine.
Okay. Okay. So back to where we were. So I think when you're finally used to being on inulin, tell me what you think the benefits are, and then I'll tell you what I've experienced.
So I'll tell you what I've experienced, but then I've discovered a whole new world of benefits when feedback started to pour into my inbox. because they were conditions that I didn't suffer from. So I wouldn't even know that Inulin could help with that. For me, the main thing was that I was having a hard time with a regular period, and all of a sudden my period became extremely regular. And that comes with a whole other set of benefits. So sleep is improved, and skin is improved, and hair growth is improved, mood is improved. So for me, that was that, but mainly my concern was to get rid of that bloat. As someone who worked in the fitness industry and exercising every day with clients for hours, having a six-pack and not being shallow at all, but seeing that covered up with bloat was not feeling normal and was making me upset. Obviously, being in workout clothing every day and inspiring clients, and around 2-3 p.m. feeling bloat was not normal. So I started to feel like I was reaping the benefits of the workouts much better. So that was fantastic. Of course, the other thing is with hormonal imbalance, you have cravings, and usually cravings for carb-rich foods. That totally subsides. What happens with Inulin is that it's a fiber. So when you ingest it, it becomes like a gelatin in your stomach, and kind of like a sponge for excess fat. So that sponge kind of has all of the excess fat stick to it, and then it whooshes out of your body without having to digest it because it's indigestible. The benefit to that is that your ghrelin hormone, which is your hunger hormone, responds really well to this type of fiber and this whole process. And so you feel satiated and you don't feel the need for the carb-rich food that you usually would, especially, for example, after a workout or right before a period, when you're PMSing. So for me, those were the main benefits. What I've heard, and I've even had on my podcast a few guests that were simply people that had incredible stories, health successes with Inulin, is that it's helped tremendously. For example, one of my clients and now good friends with PCOS. So she's been battling PCOS since she was a teen, and she said that Inulin miraculously has alleviated so many of the symptoms, and she was finally able to shed weight that she was never able to shed just through dieting. It's helped a lot of people with eczema who tried every kind of treatment, whether topical or absorbed by pill or whatever it is. I had a client, Caroline, who had eczema for 12 years. She tried everything, nothing worked. And then she started taking Inulin, and the eczema broke out really bad. And she was like freaking out, but she decided to stick to it. And within a month, the eczema cleared up, and it has never come back since. And that's, just miraculous.
We might have to say that again. Again, the microphone's acting up. It's
I'm not moving. It's crazy.
It's so weird. It's just kind of
blaring. It could be my Wi-Fi.
It might be the Wi-Fi, yeah. But just say that again about the eczema. We'll edit that.
Okay. So it has been proven by a few of my clients and consumers of Simply Inulin that it is also a miracle worker for people who suffer from eczema. One of my clients came on the podcast, Caroline, and explained that she had eczema for 12 years, tried every kind of topical treatment, every type of medication, and nothing really worked. The eczema was recurrent, always on her leg, I think. And then she started taking Simply Inulin and had a really bad breakout. And she had it even on her hand where she had never had eczema before. She freaked out, but she didn't stop. She thought it was maybe worth a try to continue and stick with it for the 1 month that I recommend, as far as, dealing with the adjustment period. And miraculously, after a month to a month and a half, the eczema completely cleared up and never came back. And to this date, in 2 years, it's never come back. I
think it has a lot to do with the gut-skin combination, because that the bacteria in our gut definitely communicate with the skin. And there's a
Absolutely.
huge link between the GI tract and the skin and the biome. And a lot of people who have bad acne, who have eczema, who have psoriasis, they have an altered biome of their skin surface. So that I think when we repopulate the colon, it actually has all these hormonal benefits as well as skin benefits, because we're shedding an entire population of old bad bacteria and bringing in like these healthy plant-based bacteria that are different from the typical diet of, meat, highly processed foods, fats. So it really becomes a plant-based environment in your colon, which is so good for the skin and the hormones.
It's so
So
true. It's absolutely true. I think Dr. Gondry explained it best. He is a huge believer in Inulin, and he said that your skin is your gut inside out. And I think that's exactly what it is. So that's proven to be incredible. It's also been very helpful for people who suffer from IBS. I got some amazing feedback. See, I couldn't know this because I don't have IBS. I don't have eczema. This is only stuff that I learned along the way when I put Simply Inulin on the market after, sourcing it very carefully, and the feedback that I got from people who actually suffer from these conditions for so many years and have been on the quest to finding something. So IBS, and the latest that I've heard is Crohn's disease. So apparently it's also been so helpful for, a few people that have tried it and that have Crohn's disease.
That's so wonderful. We'll talk a little bit about your oils that you're coming up with, because I know you have your rose oil for the skin. I definitely need to try that. And you have an argan oil that you're coming out with too, a new product. So how's that going for you?
So the argan oil has come out already, and it is a culinary oil. So it is from Morocco. I grew up eating argan oil because my parents' origins are from Morocco. So I cook Moroccan food, and I implement kind of the whole Mediterranean and Moroccan diet. That's in my cookbook as well. Argan oil is amazing, and the reason why I wanted to put it on the market is because it is the queen of fatty acids. And the reason why that is so compatible with the philosophy of consuming a fiber like Simply Inulin is because a lot of people that go on this high fiber diets, and it's all the rage now, everyone knows that fiber is what you need to be eating. They are under the impression that to reduce the bloat that you get from eating fiber, a high fiber diet, so not just Simply Inulin but everything high fiber, you need to drink 3 liters of water a day, no matter no matter your body weight. And that's a big mistake, which causes a whole other set of issues. Putting that aside, the real ally to fiber to lose weight is fatty acids. But unfortunately, in North America, the diet industry has scared everybody from good fats. So anyone that's going on a low carb diet or no carb diet has completely eradicated fatty acids, and they are afraid of olive oil, and they're afraid of fatty fishes like wild salmon or mackerel. They're afraid of seeds, and they're afraid of nuts, and all of these fatty acids are things that you need for your body mechanism to kind of reap the benefits of eating fiber. So argan oil is delicious. It's very, very different from any other type of oil as far as the taste. It has a little bit of a nutty taste. But most importantly, in Morocco, it is very, very well known for its health benefits. Any kind of heart condition, any type of condition that has to do with obesity, they will recommend that you have argan oil on your salad with a little piece of bread, on your eggs. And so that's why it was important to me to, first of all, source it straight from Morocco. It is not from an industrial plant. It comes directly from the Bear Ladies Collective. So it also supports feminine independence in Morocco because it's a whole female business, and they harvest it, they extract it, they bottle it. But most importantly, it's amazing for weight loss and it's delicious. And I figured that it would probably reconcile mainly women with, eating oils rather than just thinking of oils for their hair or their body. It's as good for your inside as it is for your outside. So argan oil has been very famous lately as, the Moroccan oil that you put on your hair or your skin. But how about your insides? And everyone is running away from oils, but your insides also need to be oiled up a little bit. I always compare that to the mechanism of, a bicycle. The chain needs a little bit of grease to kind of keep going. And so that's why argan oil has been an important part of, recommending simply inulin and eating fiber and, also reconciling people with fatty acids and good fats.
And also just part of eating well and enjoying life. Like one of the things I love on your Instagram feed is that you're such a healthy person and you're skinny and you exercise and everything, but you indulge in the delicious foods that are out there in, in Monaco and on the coast and in France. Like it's important to let yourself indulge and to enjoy small bites of delicious things. And definitely love that philosophy of eating like a French woman. So tell us a little bit about that. Do you have something you teach your daughters in terms of like how to eat?
Absolutely. And I realized that it is probably the best method for me to get through to women in North America. Why North America? Because it's really a big part of my audience, but it's, also my country. I'm both French and American. One thing that I've always realized growing up in the States, being raised by a French mother, was that she always made a point that inside the house, we should keep the French etiquette going. And whenever I came home behaving like an American at the table, she would say to me, if you want to stay skinny, you better eat like a French girl. And that never had anything to do with starving. As you know, French people do not starve. They eat cheeses, they drink wine, they have a little bit of bread. So it all has to do with etiquette and good manners. And that starts with the size of the plates. So the size of our plates at home, we have gorgeous, huge underplates, but they're underplates. They are meant to kind of separate your plate that you're eating it from the table. It's just a beautiful setting. But the actual plates where we eat our food are either salad size or dessert size. And that is a big part of being French, is that you never look greedy and you never look like you overeat. And that's fantastic. Because
That's a huge change. In America, people would feel like they were getting gypped if they went to dinner and they didn't get a huge plate, like a dinner plate. Just imagine eating off a salad plate. But I love that idea. That's one of the easiest things you can do, right?
But there's a way to balance that out. It is very true that an American that would come into a restaurant here would say, oh, the French are so stingy with food. But the way that we offset that is with variety. So we always make sure that there's like 3 different kinds of vegetables, for example. Not just one vegetable served at night. I always prepare like 1 to 2 different kinds of vegetables and a salad on the side. So it may look like you have a small plate and you're kind of getting gypped, like you're saying, but because there's variety, the visual and the neurosignals that sent to your leptin hormone, which is your satiation hormone, is actually greater than you would get from a visual of a plate filled up with food. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So small plates, and then chewing with your mouth closed. That's another thing that you advocate.
I advocate eating with your mouth closed for 2 reasons. First of all, it's way classier. Nobody wants to see the food in your mouth. It's kind of disgusting. But the other thing is, you know, I'm obsessed with bloat. I spoke about this, so much already at the beginning of this podcast. Eating with your mouth open and eating huge bites causes excessive amounts of air going through your stomach, going through your body and into your stomach. And that causes a sort of bloat called aerophagia. And that is a condition that not only is painful, It's like people that chew gum a lot, they tend to have that. But it also causes crazy bloat. So it's uncomfortable and causes bloat that you don't need to be feeling. Now, from eating with your mouth open, or chewing and speaking at the same time, or eating a huge bite, which can barely be contained in a closed mouth, you have that excess amount of air going into your esophagus and your stomach. And at that point, it becomes very difficult for your digestive system to digest. So what happens? This rises your cortisol levels, which is your stress hormones. Mm-hmm. When you rise your cortisol levels, at that point, you start having problems with your insulin resistance. You're resisting insulin. And this is where you gain weight. So it's kind of a whole process that starts with plain basic etiquette, but goes into a whole physiological process that makes so much sense when it comes to your health. You're causing discomfort, you're causing cortisol highs, and you're causing the very thing that you don't want to be causing, which is weight gain, ultimately.
That's so very true. So aerophagia. So slow down, close your mouth, enjoy and savor the taste, and don't be trying to converse and do 10 different things at once. Just enjoy the bite. And then you also talk about making a beautiful plate. Like, don't pile so much food on your brunch plate that it looks like it's overflowing. And, you know, that stuck in my head that you said your plate should look so dainty and princess-like, because it's true.
It's absolutely true, and it's also correlated with your hormones. It's the same thing. In France, a few doctors got together and took 2 different groups of people and tested out their visual on what they're eating and their hunger. So they kind of took the signals of their ghrelin hormone and leptin hormone. So the ghrelin hormone, as you know, is your hunger hormone, and your leptin hormone is the hormone that will receive the right neurosignals to figure out that that hormone is no longer feeling hungry. So that's the satiation hormone. And they took those 2 groups, and to one group, they gave a huge plate full of carb-rich food. Let's say a big plate of pasta, or, you know, maybe a huge burger with fries. And to the other group, they gave like a small pave of salmon with nice sauce and, you know, beautiful green, vibrant vegetables, maybe a variety of them, and a salad on the side, because that's what you do in France. And it turns out that the people on the left with the very, very big plate felt hungrier after eating that huge plate than the people on the other side that had that gorgeous visual of less food, but more refined and colorful plate.
That's right. It's all also about visual satiety, because it's the beauty of what you're eating and the taking your brain through the fact that you've eaten all this and you're satiated. So, I mean, try to look at your food should look good enough to be photographed, I guess, right?
Yes, exactly. So it starts with the smells, and that's why they say, you know, when you're cooking or when you're putting the food on the table, usually in America, I've always noticed growing up that the minute you put food on the table, people would jump on it. In France, you wait for the hostess rather, or the cook. And by waiting and kind of smelling the food and taking your time and kind of looking around to make sure everybody's starting to eat and kind of saying bon appetit, or maybe cheering on your wine first. That's very common in France, whereas in America, people start eating and then they will cheer on the wine. This whole moment of pause before you jump on your food gives time for your neurosignals to go into play and start sending satiety signals to your hormones.
Yeah.
So that's where etiquette, again, and health kind of go hand in hand.
That's so beautiful. And then in terms of alcohol, how does that affect your GI tract? And I know a really fashionable, fun thing you've taught me is la piscine, where we're putting a giant ice cube in our champagne or our wine and just kind of like drinking super slowly and not getting dehydrated and not getting hungover. How does having alcohol impact your gut?
So as far as I'm concerned, I'm quite careful with alcohol in the sense that I try not to consume sugary alcohols. Those are a killer for the gut, and they make you hungry, they make you moody the next day and hungrier the next day. Now, you know that, the average French person consumes more wine than any other country in the rest of the world, and yet that population is skinnier than many other places. The reason for that is that wine is consumed as pairing for certain foods. So already the choice of wines depends on what's on the menu. Let's say you have red meat, it's going to be a red wine. And most of the time it's going to be one glass of red wine. It's very rare that I would go for a second glass of red wine. Now, if we go to, like you said, La Piscine, where I'm enjoying a meal, by the sea or lunch, the great thing about that is that you can partake in, this drinking and socializing activity without overwhelming your body with too much alcohol. And on top of it, it's so hydrating. So what La Piscine is either a huge glass of wine. The reason why I'm saying that is because some people think you should use a champagne flute. It's not, it's incorrect. So it's either a glass of white wine. Some people will go for rosé, but I don't love rosé due to the sulfate content of it. Or a glass of champagne with 3 to 4 ice cubes in them. And that's called La Piscine, which translates to the pool. And what I love about that is that you can linger for a long time with the same serving. And so you're not overwhelming your body with alcohol, but you're also partaking in the whole, sociable aspect of drinking wine or drinking champagne.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. And it's chic, and it's, and it's hydrating. It feels amazing in the summer.
I love that idea. I've really definitely adopted that, and it's all from you. So I've learned so many cute habits and things from you. I love it. I've been so impressed with your Instagram feed over this whole tumultuous quarantine, and then the protests, and then Black Lives Matter. And some of the things you said were so organic and true that it just felt so fake and false to see people posting things just for the sake of posting to be supportive. I love that everyone is supportive, but I also really felt that it wasn't organic or individualized. It was just generic. So talk a little bit about that. Maybe our audience doesn't know that you've been raised, you've had a hard life, like you've had some tough experiences in your life, including being in prison, including having being without your kids for such a long time. And you're a hardcore woman, although you're so fancy.
Yes, I got to, so when the Black Lives Matter movement finally got momentum, it was nothing new to me. And one of my Black friends said that to me. I actually brought him on my podcast because we had such professional and, friendship history together. And I've seen racism firsthand, being his friend for so long. So his name is William Taswell, and he's a brilliant fashion designer. Brought him on my podcast so he could explain what it is to live a life as a Black man in the fashion industry, even coming from a really, really good socioeconomic background. And to me, being his friend for so many years, we've been friends for about 13 years. I was in the fashion industry with him. I was exposed to and educated about racism and white privilege from there and from then. So to see this Black Lives Matter, important historical momentum that they're getting at this time was almost a relief, because I've seen this friend kind of, when you're in a dream and you're screaming, but you're not hearing your voice coming out. I've had these dreams so much in the course of my life. I felt like that's what it was for William. And I think a lot of my, Black friends have been saying the same. They said, we've been saying this for so long and screaming, but no one heard us. Mm-hmm. So it was important to me, and then of course I went to prison 12 years ago, and I was incarcerated. And the sad truth is that I was the minority in there. White people are the minority, and after us are Hispanics and other people of color. and the majority of inmates are Black women. And, I had to raise my voice because those women held my hand. And those women, wiped my tears. And some of these women even said, I belong here, but you don't. Look at you. And I thought that was crazy that these women, these Black women, got to a point where they felt they belong there and we don't because of our white privilege. Like, you guys have access to such good lawyers. How come you still made it behind bars? That was crazy to me. And I got to witness and hear stories from women who never had a chance at even a defense. From the second they are accused of a crime, these women are told that because of the color of their skin, their pretrial report would already have them prone to being incarcerated longer unless they plead. Very often, because of their socioeconomics, they don't have access to a lawyer, so they get one that is, appointed for them, and those are court-appointed lawyers who push them to plead guilty because this is what they're told. They're told, you are Black. In front of a jury of 12 people, maybe 8 of these people are going to think that you committed the crime because you're Black. And when you go to trial and you don't plead, you get the maximum sentence. So most of the women I was incarcerated with, some of them did a crime. Most of them did a crime, but the time that they got definitely didn't fit the crime. And that is mainly because of the color of their skin and being fearful that their race would decide for them. So I've seen so much injustice in, the judicial system, the justice system. I think that the reforms need to be made there. It's like a systematic racism, and it needs to change. And I think I would have been a coward to sit there and just repost Black Lives Matter posts rather than, have my own voice and talk about what I've seen as a white woman and a woman of privilege. Because at the end of the day, I won my, I was sent to prison for 4 years, but after 1 year I was exonerated because I had the privilege of having attorneys and I had the privilege of appealing, which 99% of these Black women did not.
Yeah, that's so important. I also feel that in each of us, when we post for Black Lives Matter, should look at our own lives and how, like, I've seen this racism throughout surgical training, through medicine residency, through, like, it's a big, the world out there is really a white man's world, especially in medicine, surgery, and academics, and in your field, and especially in fashion, and you experienced it firsthand. But so I think that's a really, truly organic way to think about how really you've seen it in your own life, and talk about that is so much more moving than just posting a Black square or something. But how does a woman like you get out of prison and get into, like, the mindset of, like, conquering so much crap thrown at you in your life and so much to dig out of? So many people would just curl up into a ball and just shrivel away and just not be able to handle it. But it takes a different mindset to say, I'm going to go and prosper and become this beautiful person who's got all these ideas and putting all this knowledge and wealth into the world. And I love that about you. What do you think is your forte or your strength that drove you to that?
My children.
Yeah.
My children are my strength. I believe, and it's funny because today today right before our appointment for this podcast, I was planning for my kids' future. So, like money placements and whatever, and something I never thought I'd be able to do at the age of 42, having gone through highs and lows, financial highs and lows, to having nothing and then having something, then having nothing again. Having children is a privilege. And I feel as a parent that if you bring them into this world, then you have to help them. Yeah. And I feel extremely guilty about the year I spent behind bars. 1, because I was away from them, but 2, because they had to come and be behind bars with me and visit me. And I think that guilt and that need to make it up to them has been, the driving force behind everything that I've done. I still carry the guilt today. Very often I look at my daughter, who is Savannah is my middle one. She's 19 years old. She's going to be 19 years old. She's the one who was the most aware of what was happening. And I look at her when there's a weakness that comes out, and I automatically blame it on, that 1 year. And that is my drive. That makes me thrive and want to be extremely successful and very strong, and making her proud. I want them to be proud because I was so ashamed for that time and so worried that my children would pay the price of having a mother who's a convict. So I think that I thrive in making them proud and having integrity and success because of the children.
It's so true. I think they motivate us when we feel like we're about to give out or give way or have a breakdown. Like, you just have to hold it together for your kids, because otherwise, what are you telling them? That it's okay to melt and, just let yourself collapse in a lot of pity party. You can't do that. You have to tell your kids to stand up for themselves, to realize that life is going to have a million hurdles and that you can't let anything conquer you. It's challenging. Your kids are going to be lawyers, 2 of them, so that must be kind of the motivation that they've seen to help defend people like yourself.
Yeah, it's funny. I think I was talking to your marketing specialist before, and I think she wants to go to law school, and she said, "What's your advice?" Like right before you got on. And I said to her, make sure that you're passionate about something that has to do with law. And for my kids, the driving force behind the passion for law is what happened to me and the injustice of it, because at the end of the day, I was exonerated, but I lost a year of my life and was let out without even an apology. And that's made the both of them and their statements that you have to send to the schools to be accepted are a reflection of that. They are so passionate about, righting the wrongs that I've been a victim of. So I think that you need to have that in your heart, something in your heart that, to become lawyers today, that's important. There is a need for lawyers with heart, and I see that in them. They're very passionate about it for this reason.
They're just, your genetics, it comes from the mother. And I see that in your Instagram posting too. It's fun to be friends from across the world because your voice comes across in your writing. And like, so often you read this fluff when you scroll through other people's posts, but always I feel like you speak your mind. And I think that's so important. I think people will learn a lot when they follow you. And I'm so excited this year to hear about your new cookbook coming out, Simply the Best, Moroccan Mediterranean Cuisine. And tell us, where can people find you on your various handles so they can get inspired like I am?
First of all, I'm very, very humble because I'm very inspired by you and what you do. And having those children, you do it all. So it's very humbling to receive all these compliments from, a woman of big achievements like yourself. My handle, I think the best handle for me, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, is definitely Instagram. That's my favorite platform, and that's where I microblog on my posts, and I story a lot of the lifestyle that we discussed today. So on Instagram, I'm Ingrid de la Marqueni, and for my products and my cookbook, it is on themethodmc.com.
Well, there you have it. I hope you guys will all go and check it out. Ingrid's such a boss girl, and it's been so fun to know you from afar and meet you in Monaco. And I'm so disappointed that quarantine happened because I was supposed to come to your special retreat. But maybe next year, hopefully next year.
I hope so. I hope you will make it. Usually you come for that seminar either way where you teach, so I hope that you will make it.
That's right. Well, there you have it, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in from all the way across the world, Ingrid. Love you to the moon, and keep doing what you're doing to inspire women everywhere to be like truthful, honest, and clean in their diet, and classy and chic in what they eat and what they put in themselves. So I love that. Don't forget to find me, guys, on my Instagram doing amazing things with people.